So, Honorable Commissioner Hahn, Ambassador Orav, dear colleagues, representatives of the press corps, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the press conference organized on the occasion of the visit of European Commissioner for Neighborhood Policy and Enlargement Negotiations, Mr. Johanesa Hana. Without any further delay, I wish to invite the Commissioner to address you, and after his statement, you will have an opportunity to ask a couple of questions. Commissioner, you may take the floor.
Thank you very much. It's a slight delay, but it was, and it is always my aim, traveling to one of our candidate countries to meet all the political representatives, even if the stay is very short. So I had the opportunity to see today already the Prime Minister, Speaker of the Parliament, and all the opposition leaders, and later on I will see again the Minister for European Affairs and the leader of the biggest party in the country, in order to get a good impression, a good overview about the current situation, because it's important to stress once again, Montenegro has achieved a lot in terms of the EU integration over the past years, and the country is a close and reliable partner, and a very constructive one also in the regional context, referring, for instance, to the Berlin process. But what is needed now is to overcome the situation that the opposition is not moving into the parliament. I think, and this was, so to say, in the center of discussions with the opposition parties, I think it's quite normal in a democratic structure to have different views, different opinions, but the Parliament is exactly the place where all these debates should take place, and the Parliament also offers the opportunity, for instance, to set up special committees dedicated to a particular case. You don't need always standing committees, you can also have special purpose committees, so there are a lot of opportunities, but it's important to keep this momentum concerning Montenegro's Euro-Atlantic path, and I expect, for instance, the opening of new chapters next week during the intergovernmental conference. I think it will be on Tuesday. What is important, what is equally important, is to push and to focus on the consolidation of the macro-financial situation of the country. If you look at the debt rate, it has increased in the last 5 years by almost 40 to 50%. Deficit has further increased, and this is something which is in the long run not sustainable, has to be addressed, also as part of, so to say, the further alignment to European standards. It's also equally important, related to everything which is concerning the economy. It's the further work on everything which can be covered by the term rule of law. It's really now time for a sustainable track record, because more or less all the laws are in force, but it's about, so to say, the sustainable track record, which is important for us. It's also the fight against corruption and organized crime, and these are very decisive and crucial elements in our assessment process. Today we could announce, but probably you have already participated in my press conference with the Prime Minister, new budgets or new programs for next year, or respectively this year, concerning investments in the environment, but also in the so to say, further support of economic competitiveness and innovation. Both together amount to around 23 million euro. In the current financial perspective, Montenegro will receive around 270 million euro between 2014 and 2020. In that respect, the European Union is by far the biggest international donor, but I don't like the term donor. I prefer the term investor. Investor means we invest in the further development and increase of welfare and prosperity in the country in order to bring the country closer to the European Union. And this is, so to say, our overarching goal. To sum up, it's important to overcome the current political stilts and when it comes to the situation in the parliament. Second, focus on financial consolidation. Related to it, pushing the economy, diversification, etc. And of course, having close eye on on everything which is related to the rule of law. In that respect, the country can make a lot of progress in the next couple of months. I think our report presented around a month ago have given a very objective and correct picture of the situation. But once again, the country is the country in the region being most advanced in the accession process, and this is also a kind of responsibility beyond the country in itself. It's a kind of responsibility related to the other countries in the region, because Montenegro in that respect is quasi showcasing possible future membership to the European Union. So all in all, I think there is progress, but of course more has to be done, and important is that all political players are committed and determined to this Euro-Atlantic perspective. It's of such a fundamental relevance that it should not be only the task of the government. No, it must be a national interest, a national aim, and in that respect, all political forces, civil society, etc., should cooperate, work together, no matter that there and there one can have different views. This is part of the political life, but one should be clear about the general aim.
Thank you, Commissioner Hahn. I believe we have a question from colleagues from Television Vijesti who are joining us live now. I would give the floor to Jelena, please.
Dobro večer, Jelena Đonović, Televizija Vijesti. Danas ste izjavili da za zemlju kandidata...
Just 1 second, please. Go ahead.
Danas ste izjavili da za zemlju kandidata nije održivo stanje ukoliko je cijela opozicija van parlamenta, kao i da je odgovornost i obaveza vlade da opoziciju ubijedi da se vrati u parlament. Da li u tom kontekstu smatrate legitimnim zahtjev opozicije da se izbori ponove i koliko su izbori po vašem mišljenju mogli biti slobodni s obzirom na to da su se prema tvrdnjama tužilaštva i vlade održali na dan kada je Crnoj Gori prijetila opasnost od terorističkog napada, kada su opet prema tvrdnjama tužilaštva teroristi planirali da proglase pobjedu opozicionog bloka i da liše slobode premijera? Hvala.
First of all, there have been election observations by ODIHR, which is the, so to say, relevant branch of OSCE, and they have made their reports, and we rely on this report. Second, concerning this attempted coup, I expect that according our rule of law standards, which have also to apply for a candidate country, there is a thorough follow-up investigations, and everybody, I think, in the country expect very soon a report about everything which is related to it in order to give answers to all these rumors and suspicions. And concerning opposition government, honestly, here in the region there is still very often this attitude, either you are against or in favor of me, black and white. But in democracy, the predominant, so to say, solution is a compromise. And a good compromise is something where both parties give in, but also both parties gain something. And in that respect, it's not only the task of the opposition or not only the task of the government. Both parties have to move to each other, provided they are interested on a constructive solution. And I would say at least some opposition parties have expressed their interest to find a constructive solution. So that means the parties have to look for a solution allowing them to move into the parliament. And it is something which should be feasible. It's not a big deal if there's a political will.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have a question from France Press.
Agency France Press. It seems now that peoples in the Balkan increasingly distrust the enlargement process due to the fact that disintegration in Europe nowadays is going up and up. So that there is some problem with that. How do you see that? And could you give us your message on this issue? That is the first question. And another is about the stronger and stronger Russian influence in the region. How do you see that? Especially in the light of the fact that we have a situation that Montenegro is on the door of the membership of the NATO. Thank you very much.
Well, concerning the first, honestly, I don't see. You might think I'm too optimistic or too naive. A particular high level of disintegration. I mean, if you refer to the Brexit votum, what we could see immediately afterwards, and this continues, is an increase of support to the European Union in all the other member states, because people have now recognized that populists usually promise something or create problems, but are neither able to fulfill their promises nor to solve any problems. All these guys in the UK which have pushed for the Brexit disappeared, or they turned out that some of their so to say announcement promises are simply lies. This is the one thing. The second thing, more very related to the situation here in the region, I remember very well. We had our annual Berlin Process Summit in Paris on the 4th of July. It was approximately 2 weeks after the referendum in UK. There were European leaders there, President Hollande, Mrs. Merkel, Mogherini, others, other prime ministers, and the prime ministers of the region, of the countries of the region here. And all these European leaders reassured 2 weeks after Brexit the colleagues here in the region that there is no negative impact. I would say quite the opposite. This referring to the Brexit. But we should not underestimate that for all these countries here, we are in a process towards European integration. It's not only negotiation, but it's a process. And here it's up to the candidate countries to decide about the speed. I'm always saying in that respect we don't know any speed limit. It's up to the countries how fast they can move forward. On Russia, in principle I have to say this is the European understanding, politics, etc. we are very much interested in peaceful relationship with all our neighbors and partners in the world. Peaceful relationship means the opportunity to make businesses, to have mobility, to give young people the opportunity to move, to study abroad, etc., to increase living conditions, welfare level, to address brain drain, make brain circulation, etc. This is our understanding, and I am personally committed to it. But we cannot shy away that apparently Russia has there and there some different agenda. Honestly, I think the best answer also here in the region is to improve the living conditions, to increase the welfare level, to give people a perspective, not to force them to migrate somewhere else, not to have a brain drain that best people are moving away, but that we can turn it into a brain circulation. I think this is the best answer. And in a short term, I think we should be much more self-confident, more outspoken. This is also the reason why the leaders here in the region are committed to this European path. I mean, already today, all the countries here, Montenegro is such an example, are heavily integrated in economic terms in the European Union. 2/3, even more, is the share of import-export of European countries to the region, to Montenegro. Same applies for financial investments. If you look into the figures of Russia, Russia is far away in this, or far below in such kind of ranking. I'm not criticizing it, but if a political leader takes care about the future of a country, they should have close and very friendly relations with those who are ready to invest in the country, to come to the country, to work with it, and to be interested on the development of the country, and not only for geostrategic reasons.
Commissioner Hahn, we will have 2 more questions because we're short of time. A colleague from Radio Montenegro and Vijesti newspaper. Thank you.
U kontekstu vaše priče danas sa predstavnicima opozicije rekli ste da su određene, da je dio opozicionih partija izrazilo interesovanje da se nađe rješenje i da obje strane treba da postignu određeni kompromis. Da li je to na pomolu možda povratak barem dijela opozicije u parlament i o kojim političkim partijama je riječ, ukoliko možete da nam date neke detaljne informacije? Da li ste u stvari vi podstakli kompromis? Hvala.
Darvin Munić, Vijesti. Da li vam je premijer danas ili možda neko drugi od državnih zvaničnika prezentovao dokaze o, kako ga državne institucije nazivaju, terorističkom napadu? I da li smatrate da su mediji koji dovode u pitanje taj takozvani državni udar i političke zloupotrebe toga saradnici terorista?
Honestly, it's not my task to participate in, how to say, rumors, indications, things like that. I expect, like probably all citizens here in Montenegro, a thorough investigation, which is transparent, which is, so to say, traceable for citizens, and then everybody should make up his or her mind. But it doesn't make sense to speculate about anything. I think let's leave it at this stage. I don't want to make further comments. Like everybody, I expect thorough investigations, and they should be concluded as soon as possible. And concerning opposition, but honestly, I'm always in favor of political compromises. This is not weakness. This is, so to say, the aim to make progress, to make, so to say, to bring results, to achieve something. And in that respect, you have to cooperate with partners. And usually partners have different views on something. And finally, you have to find a common denominator. And this was also the point I have shared with opposition parties. In particular, those who have expressed their clear support for the Euro-Atlantic perspective of the country. And here, their engagement is necessary. And this engagement can primarily only take place in the Parliament. So to take political responsibility means to move into the Parliament, to look for debates there, to have their controversies, but to find solutions and, if necessary, to vote. And very often there might be a majority vote and not a unanimity vote. But this is not, it's not, so to say, something unusual in democracy. So once again, I have urged them to move back, but I also believe that the government or the ruling party has to move towards them, and only this is, I think, the only way to find a solution.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for coming. In about 5 minutes, we will start in front of the delegation as agreed.